Hi, gang. It's Hexy. Hex to Hex. So we've been playing the first day Shiloh game from Blind Swords, Revolution Games. Um, what really more do you need to play at Shiloh than the first day, unless you're just one of those people that wants to watch Bill Yank just stomp a hole in Johnny Reb on the second day without any mercy. Just get them running back to Corinth, I guess. But so we're playing the 16.4 scenario, which is, I guess it's after the camps have been alerted pretty much because everybody starts and they're good to go. They're not camped and whatnot in this one here. So you've got some rules where the Yanks cannot do any attacking up to a certain point. You've got the cohesion issues where for the first two turns, the Confederates get a +1 and the Yanks get a -1, which was pretty devastating. Losses, yes, yeah, that's depleted quite a few units. Not as many in the broken box after two turns that I would have thought. Only come to think of it, there's four Union troops in there and one Confederate troop from Shaver. One of Shaver's units has already recovered back on the map. So, and again, you got a little bit. I'm going to put the camera shot that covers everything with one motion. So, Peabody's or Prentiss' 6th Division is over in here with Peabody and Miller. Okay, and of course they're spread all along this camp line here. Then you got Sherman back in the back up there with, you can't see McDowell, but he has not been able to move. He keeps getting the limited activation sitting way over there. And then Buckland and Hildebrand in the middle here in front of Shiloh Church, which you can see is under threat, but they're holding it. And then you've got McClernand with Marsh's brigade in the back, which Marsh's brigade back here, they can't do any kind of movement. Grant's going to come on. He's going to have, I think, the 13th Missouri with him, which they operate under his control when he does an activation. But they were pretty much independent coming up from the landing. And then McClernand has Race Brigade, which they can act. So I guess the philosophy was that the Union were setting up secondary lines and leaving those troops in place on the secondary lines on this first day. So, and I don't really think it paid off for them. Maybe it did. I don't know, because the Rebs didn't get all the way down to Pittsburgh Landing. That or they just didn't push hard enough. Of course, once Albert Sidney Johnston went down, that was pretty much the end of it. So, even though I think Beauregard was actually a fairly decent commander. All right, so right off the bat, after the artillery fire, you have to, Cleburne's the first thing to go, and he's automatically active, automatically in attack, and he has to move adjacent. He has to close straight north on any Union units. And where you see him right now is pretty much, for the most part, where he first moved to. Maybe one extra hex up onto the ridge there. And they actually devastated Hildebrand and Buckland, or actually Buckland that was sitting there. Matter of fact, or Hildebrand. Hildebrand's got, well, Buckland and Hildebrand both have units on the broken track. And you can see they both got depleted units right there too. And they've got low ammo stuff. I think this is to Buckland. No, he's sitting right on top of the Union headquarters right there, which would be Sherman's headquarters. So they pushed, and that's pretty much what they're saying. But now they were able to get the rest of Cleburne was able to get the rest of their units up there. And I honestly thought all of Cleburne's regiments were, their cohesions would have been much higher, but I see there's a 2 and 2 3s in there. And of course, with the +1 on the first turn, it's kind of hard to get them flipped to their depleted side. Really hard, actually, or for them to fail their cohesion test. But they have done it, okay? And then you've got who is it? Chalmers. Now Ruggles has got Anderson's division here, and then over here to the left he's got Pond, which Pond didn't get an activation last time, but he's moving towards McClernand right over in here, okay? And Anderson, he's going to move to try to shoot this gap between McClernand and the 6th Division of Prentiss over here. They're separated, which I know they were at Shiloh anyhow. Johnson, he's got his brigade is moving up. He's going to try to go up and support Cleburne, or maybe pick up the fight in case Cleburne gets too devastated, or maybe he could bypass on the left side right there and get in that gap. All right. They're out of surprise now because we're starting the 9 a.m. turn. That's 3 turns in. Wood has jumped after Shaver got kind of beat up, Wood has now passed through Shaver, and he's going to deal with Peabody. You see what he's done to two of Peabody's regiments right there. Peabody's got these other two. Like I say, this turn is over. I believe on the 9 a.m. turn, I got to check the special rules. The Union can start acting like a normal force now, attack, maneuver, stuff like that. Russell and Stewart. Stewart failed his action last time, so he didn't do nothing. Russell's moved forward. Russell actually got into the fight right here, and no, I take it back. Russell's he will be on the fight on the next turn if he gets an activation. Gladden over here to the right, he's beat up pretty good, but he's driven Miller and the artillery off of the encampments up here, and these encampments can really screw you up when you move into them because you're going to stop. I guess that's the looting thing. And Chalmers, who is not he's taken one morale hit on one of his regiments, but he hasn't closed yet. I think he failed his last. Yeah, he failed his last roll, so he didn't get to move forward. And it would have been nice because they got these guys on the run. Now these guys, unfortunately, depending on how the chit draws go, they may get a chance to recover. The Union now on this 9 a.m. turn, they get to have one key event chit, and then 2 randoms. The Confederates get 2 and 2 all along. So, and I've actually been choosing those key event chits to what I think. Like I think for this turn here, I chose Rebel Yell and Rally because need to get some of these units that are stacked together. I need to get them rallied, and the Rebel Yell is just great, especially now with the cohesion rule. The special cohesion for the first 2 turns is now gone, so the Confederates don't get that plus anymore. They don't get that modifier anymore. So, fire is you've got sort of what they call their canopy fire in this game, where you can shoot like if you're on a higher ground across a woods hex into another woods hex, but you're going to pay a penalty. You can shoot from higher ground to higher ground where you're considered firing over the woods, but you can do it. Not a whole lot of opportunities for artillery fire, I would say. The Yanks in this one here, they only get to do 3 guns, I think, for the first 2 turns. I need to check that one too. They might be unlimited now. And if you're firing out of woods with artillery, you only can fire 3 strength points in this game here. There is one special rule in here. I think it's the line of sight chit. If you draw it, you can disregard the distance as long as you would. I guess elevation wise, if you could shoot at the target, you can shoot at it. You can disregard the effect I think Woods has, except for maybe it's going to be obscured, and they'll get to fire their full accountment of guns that are in the hex. So, or from the unit. So it wouldn't just be 3. If they had a 6 stack, they could fire all 6. But like I say, that's one chit draw called line of sight for the artillery. So other than that, we're chugging along here. Shiloh first day. We're going to start the 9 a.m. turn, and this one ends with the 9:30 with after the 10 a.m. turn. So the Confederates really need to get going. Not being able to use a maneuver order to get extra movement points kind of stings in the first 2, but the Confederates were moving in waves. And in these woods, while granted these aren't as thick as like the wilderness or anything, it's still kind of tough to keep your formations moving and in a good pattern. So, all right, blind swords. Shiloh, the first day, Revolution Games, one of Herman's design. I don't know who Steve Carey, I think, is the one that did most of the work on this one here. We're going to drive on. Let's get this posted so y'all can see what's happening in Tennessee. And I did say it is Tennessee this time. Thanks. Talk to y'all later.